Okay, now let's see how this looks in a graph. Let's do first, so this is the demand and supply, the equilibrium point with no tax, the quantity is 2, and the price is $18. Notice that I put the two intercepts over the two curve, 22 for the demand curve and 2 for the supply curve. Now let's assume there's a tax, and let's put it first in the demand curve. So the demand is going to shift down by exactly $2, which is the amount of the tax, and the new equilibrium point will be right here. The quantity at that point is 1.8. The price at that point is 16.4. And then if the difference between the intercept between here and here is $2, then the difference between this point and that point is also $2. So we know that that point right there is 18.4. Okay, so now we have our whole analysis, and we can see that the effect on consumers on this tax is that the consumers pay $16.40 to the sellers, but then they have to send $2 to the government, so they actually effectively are paying $18.40, which is 40 cents worse than before. So the buyers are worse off by 40 cents. All right. Now the sellers, on the other hand, well, before they had $18, and now they're getting only 16.4, so they're worse off by $1.60, which is the rest of the $2, right? So the sellers worse by $1.60. So of the $2 tax, the sellers are kind of putting up with $1.60, and the buyers are putting up with 40 cents. That's when the tax is on the buyers. Now let's put the tax on the sellers. So we know that the tax, what it's going to do is that it's going to shift the supply curve to the left by exactly $2. So everywhere it's going to be $2, and the intercept is $2. And also, as you see, between here, the actual price that you end up with, the supply that we found out in the previous video, is 18.4, and this point right here is also $2. So so now we can see that, so the equilibrium point ends up being the same, 1.8, but the price, the equilibrium price, ends up being 18.4. Now, how worse off are buyers? Well, buyers are worse off by 40 cents, because before the tax on sellers, they were paying $18, and now they're paying $18.40, so they're also worse off by 40 cents. How worse off are the sellers? Well, the sellers are worse off by $1.60, because before they were receiving effectively $18, but now they're only receiving 18.4 minus 2. They're effectively only getting 16.40 cents every time they sell a unit, which is $1.60 less than it was before. So you saw that it doesn't really matter who sends the tax to the government. The reduction in quantity is the same, but also effectively the burden on the buyers and the sellers is also the same. So what determines the burden on the sellers and the buyers, we're going to get into in a different video. But for this one, the important part is that you see that the effect on the consumer, on the total surplus, on the market, and the welfare in the market, is that it reduces the trades in the market. So this many people that were many people that were trading before, those trades don't occur anymore. So where is how can we measure that in dollar terms? Well, in dollar terms, we know that we use surplus to measure that. So this little triangle here is exactly the loss on surplus, and as we learned in a previous video, we call that a deadweight loss. We call that a deadweight loss because it's surplus that in the free market would have achieved that, and now we don't have that. And it's pretty easy to actually get the actual number in dollar terms, because all we have to do is apply a little geometry here, right? So it will be simply multiplying one side of the triangle, let's say this side, which we know is equal to 2 minus 1.8. By the other side of the triangle, let's say this side, which we know is equal to 2, right? 18.4 is 16.4. and divide that by 2. And that way, pretty easily, we can get the deadweight loss of this particular tax in this market. All right, so using a little geometry, we can get that. So in dollar terms, we know that the deadweight loss in this market is going to be equal to 0.2. All right. Now, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the sellers who are sending this tax to the government or if the buyers are sending this tax to the government. If the quantity on the market is reduced to 8.8, the deadweight loss is going to be the area of that triangle, which is going to be equal to the one side. One side is the reduction in quantity, and the other side is the tax. Now, finally, the other thing that should be clear here is the revenue by the government. You see, the government revenue is going to be equal to the tax, which is $2, right? So this right here, times how many units are sold, times 1.8. So the tax is going to be this area right here is the tax, is the government revenue, all right? In this case, it will be $2 times 1.8.